This week we're going to kind of look at some more of the snaps and polar tracking and different methods of drawing. So it's a little repetitive from last week. And then we'll get into um, your first AutoCAD drawing this week also. To start with, a lot of people open up a drawing that they've been working in, or they're working, and then all of a sudden they can't see what they've been drawing. And the problem is they are zoomed out too far. So that's why I recommended that you turn on the coordinates down here in this lower bar so that you can see where your cursor is at any point in time. So I have drawn a little rectangle right here. The problem is that corner of the rectangle is at coordinates 1000, 1000. And if you open your file up, depends, you may be zoomed out like really, really far, and it's like you can't see it, or for whatever reason you started drawing way over here, um, and then you can't see your object. Like you're rolling your mouse wheel, you can't find it. What you do is on the keyboard you type Z for zoom, enter, A for all, and then enter. And then it will zoom out and cover everything that you have drawn, and should include the origin also. And so now you can see your little rectangle up here at coordinates of 1000, 1000, and down, well, it goes down past the origin. So that's the zoom all is how you do that. And so I would really recommend when you start drawing, watch your coordinates down there and make sure that you're maybe not at, you don't have to start drawing at the 0, 0 point. You can, that's fine. But at least be close to it. Okay. Um, all right. So we talked about a little bit about the grid and the settings. We did talk about that. So you can change these settings to 1 inch or quarter inch. Some people use the grids a lot. I find that I don't use them that often. They just kind of help me keep an eye on whatever I'm doing. If if you have a drawing that is like based on a grid, if you will, like we're going to have one exercise in a couple of weeks where you could set your grid spacing to the spacing of the lines, and then set your snap uh, spacing that same distance, and then turn on snap, and it makes it a lot easier to draw those types of drawings. Okay, so polar tracking, let's look at that one. Um, I didn't talk about tracking last week. Um, well, I did a little bit, yeah. Um, so we'll leave those things alone. So polar tracking is right here, and that's where we can set the angles that we want a snap to go to. 45 is pretty common. And a lot of the things that you find in drafting, the angles are often like in 15-degree increments. It just seems to work out that way with a lot of design. And so you can certainly make these changes here. Uh, so I'll start me a line, and you'll notice it gets a snap every 15 degrees there. Okay. Um, so I pretty much covered a lot of those things. What happened? I didn't mean to open that. Sorry. Um, I don't think I did with snap tracking. So if I wanted to draw a line like parallel to this one, I could come over here and get my cursor to highlight on that, and I can drag my mouse over to the right, and I could even type in the distance I wanted. Okay, and then it tracked off of the first object. And so now I'm coming down, and if I want to track off of the bottom of the existing object, I just hover my mouse over it and get the object snap, and just drag my mouse back to the right. Okay, so that's what we call object tracking, and you'll find as you're working through some of these things, it works out that way. Now then, let me take this one out. Okay, how would I track? I can also track to 2 points. So if I start my line and I hover that one and drag it over, come down, hover this one, and come back up, I get a snap at those points. Okay, maybe I went through that kind of quickly. So I hover over the one, and then I hover over the second one, and then as I come back up, well, I can't do it with that line there, can I? Sorry. Hover over the first one, hover the second one, and then I get a 2-point snap where I could draw out from that. Uh, if I showed you on setting up these, and these are kind of the ones that I keep turned on. You can certainly turn on perpendicular. That works. If you get too many, it just gets confusing. Like most of the time, you're going to leave node turned off, um, or else you end up snapping to like a dimension line in a drawing. But you could certainly turn on perpendicular, parallel. We do use parallel some, but not that often. Okay, so you can turn those on like that. And if you're drawing and you need a snap, you can right click and go Object Snap Overrides, and then pick one. Okay, that you may not have turned on, or if you need to default to one, then you could certainly pick one here. Okay. Uh, and I talked about panning and zooming and using the mouse wheel and the steering wheels. I talked about those things last week. Let's look at the measure tools. Um, right over here on the Home tab in the Utilities, there's a little ruler, and you can go measure. And when you kind of mouse over things, it'll tell you a length of something. Okay. But if I hit the pull down, I can specify, do I want distance or radius or angle or area, things like that. Okay, so let's go angle, and then I have to pick my two lines, and then it tells me 90 degrees. Okay, and let's pick this one and here. So that's at an angle of 52 degrees. Okay, so that's the measure tools, and you'll find that kind of helpful. In that same menu right here, you've got a calculator that you can use. It'll do basic calculations and stuff, scientific stuff. Uh, Unit conversions, you can convert, from inches to meters or whatever. You just put in your value. So there's a calculator built into AutoCAD that you can use. I don't think any of these others select all. Yeah, quick select. Okay. And I think I showed you last week another way of looking at things is the properties. And if your properties are not open, so let me close properties. If you select an object and right click and come down here to properties, it will open that up. Now mine is docked to the side because that's where I had it when I closed it. Yours will probably open up and just be floating, but you can grab it and drag it over. And then this is like an auto close thing that you can turn on, so it just decreases it to a little bar until you mouse over it, and then it's open. Okay. I kind of find that gets irritating, so I tend to leave mine on. Okay, so if I select an object and go to properties, it tells me down here the length of the object along with the XYZ coordinates of the object, okay? And an angle if there is an angle. Now the angle is the angle at which it was drawn from the AutoCAD 0 that goes to the right from the x-axis. So when it says an angle of 52, it means I drew it from this point up to this point. Okay, so if I draw a line coming down this way, and now I look at the angle, it's an angle of 225 because I started at the upper right and drew it to the lower left. So it's 225 degrees from the horizontal around. So in the properties, the angle is not the angle of that line to some other part of the drawing. It's the angle at which it was drawn based on the x-axis. Okay. I think that pretty much covers a lot of the intro stuff that I wanted to have for you. Next video will be on drawing the triangles assignment that we're going to have this week. So there it is.